Bong Joon Ho's long-awaited follow-up to the Best Picture-winning Parasite comes to us in the form of cloned Robert Pattinson's. Let's talk about Mickey 17. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new movie Mickey 17. This features Robert Pattinson, like I mentioned, Naomi Ackie, Steven Yeun, a frequent collaborator of Bong Joon Ho's, Mark Ruffalo, Toni Collette. So a pretty good cast. And this is one of the first English language films for Bong Joon Ho. Of course, Parasite, famously the first ever non-English language Best Picture winner at the Oscars. But we had Snowpiercer back in 2013, which was with Tilda Swinton and Chris Evans and Octavia Spencer. And then Okja, which was on Netflix in 2017. That was a mixture of English and Korean. And then Parasite was almost all Korean. And then Mickey 17 now. So, but it's been 6 years since Parasite, so this was certainly going to be one that people were curious about. He won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Screenplay for Parasite, so what is the next thing that he's going to bring? So in 2022, a book came out called Mickey 7 with this same story, and he thought, well, you know what, this sounds like a perfect idea for my next movie. So now we've got Mickey 17. All right, so before we launch into the specifics though of the film, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are a Dan Reviews subscriber, can't thank you enough for that. Love having you return to the channel and check out my videos. If you're not though, please consider subscribing and click that notification bell too so you get the alerts for all my video drops. I do try to post just about every day, so always a lot going on here. But you can just like this video, comment below, and share on your socials. That stuff, of course, does wonders for the channel. All right, so we start off in the year 2054. Mickey Barnes, played by Robert Pattinson, and his friend Timo, who is Steven Yeun. They are on the run from some loan sharks they can't repay, so they sign up for a spaceship to leave Earth to colonize this planet called Nilfheim. And Timo is a shuttle pilot, but Mickey signs up as the spaceship's only expendable, which means that his job is to die, and they're just going to keep cloning him and making more. And so after 4 years, we're now up to the 17th version, Mickey 17, as the title indicates. And he is now tasked with taking these weird life forms from the planet, which are later referred to as creepers, onto the spaceship so they can study them. I think that's all we'll say about the plot, other than that, like most of Joon Ho's work, this movie is earmarked by a lot of his typical style of some class warfare commentary and or satire. That certainly, is rampant. I just rewatched Snowpiercer last night. Very, very, very rampant there. Here as well. There's certainly some, satire, like I said, in that regard as well. But we also have Joon Ho's specialty of genre mixing, sometimes within scenes, from sci-fi to comedy to horror. And sometimes that works. I think Parasite took a little bit of a slow burn approach, whereas I think this is a little more in your face than that movie was. So yeah, let's talk about all of this here. So we have Mark Ruffalo and Toni Collette as, I forget what they're referred to, but they're basically the president and first lady of the spacecraft and what will be the planet of Nilfheim, or I guess the planet already exists, but once they colonize it, he's going to be, they don't call him president, but he for all intents and purposes is, and him and Toni Collette both have these like giant veneers and all of that. It's obviously a Trump comparison. I think we can start there. And it's funny, I just talked about Trump in my last video. I was reviewing the Sebastian Stan movie, The Apprentice, that he got nominated for this year. But in any event, it's not completely on the nose. But look, there's a couple of people in the background wearing red hats. You can't really see what they say, but I think that's an obvious comparison. He has this talk show where he needs to be the center of attention and whatever. So that is a bit on the nose, a bit interesting because they certainly filmed this movie before the latest election. So did Bong Joon Ho know something that we didn't about who would for sure be our next president? I don't know. But in any event, I mean, the parody, let's say, is certainly very obvious. And I think that actually hampers the movie a little bit because we really get beat over the head with it. And Mark Ruffalo is really, a great actor, and he's doing very well here. Toni Collette, look, I gotta say, she's not one of my favorites. I think she's, very similar in a lot of roles that she's played, and, certainly she mixes genres herself, Hereditary, obviously very different from some of the other things she's done. She's done comedy, she's done drama. But I didn't really think she was bringing anything to the table here. Again, I watched Snowpiercer last night. You talk about like Tilda Swinton and, Ed Harris is in that, all of these really, masterclass type actors. And to me, Toni Collette isn't in that field. So I get it. There's, the satire, and obviously class warfare stuff reigning supreme right now, just in the world and maybe in this country. I don't know, but let's get back to the story at hand. So Robert Pattinson, he's killing it here. I mean, he has become, him and Kristen Stewart, both. Look, I didn't care for the Twilight movies. In fact, I only saw the first one, and I was like, oh man, this is not very good. So I never did the follow-ups. But Pattinson and Kristen Stewart are two of the most interesting actors these days, I think. That they're always really trying to stretch those acting muscles and try something different. And, in this, Robert Pattinson is giving it, 110%. He is certainly funny in the moments where he needs to be. And he's acting his heart out, in some of the more intense, action sequences or whatever. I think he is absolutely one of the best parts about this movie. The script is good, but I think Joon Ho has crammed too many ideas in here, and maybe those sort of genre bending moments work in smaller doses, like in Snowpiercer. The comedy is there, but it's not necessarily like broad comedy. Like we have Mickey coming out of the cloning machine and sort of like flopping on the ground because no one's paying attention. Like that's a broad visual joke that I don't really remember seeing too much in his other movies, in Joon Ho's other movies. So I think we're sort of mixing genres a little too much with this. And I could also say that maybe the design of the creepers is not that unique. That's maybe a little bit of a nitpick. But yeah, I think overall this movie's trying to do a little too much, and is really beating us over the head with the commentary, about, let's face it, Trump is the obvious, go-to for this character. And, that's fine. I mean, I love a good barb about Trump, but I think it was just a little too much with this movie. Like at some point it was like, all right, we got it. Let's get back to the story at hand, and maybe not as much of the, the political commentary or the satire. I know class warfare is one of his main components in his films, and some of that stuff, was very good. But I think this movie's trying to do a little too much. We'll leave it there. So I leave Mickey 17 with a B-. It definitely has some good ideas, and Robert Pattinson gives us a great performance. But I think that maybe some things needed to be tweaked with this. A big step down for me between Parasite and Snowpiercer, both in that A range. Parasite A+ for me. So definitely a step down in that regard. All right. Thank you for watching Dave Reviews It. I'll see you next time.